If you're not in a good headspace, you can't make good decisions to be where you want to be financially or make that 7-figure income.
I always say the best form of therapy, it's free, is literally paper and a pen. It costs you nothing.
So we need to realize that that time alone gives you the energy to come back and be the best that you can be.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to the 7-Figure Dentist Playbook. I'm J.M. Ryerson, and I have a good friend of mine coming in from Texas. Jodi, tell them what's up. How you doing?
Well, I am doing wonderful, and I'm so happy to be here today. I celebrated my birthday on Friday and spent a little time in Colorado, and now I'm excited to talk to you about stress management.
Well, I'm excited to talk about that as well. Happy birthday to you. And, as you mentioned, we're going to talk about life and work balance, mental health, well-being. So sounds like you already took care of that for yourself, which is fantastic.
Well, I think that's what we all have to do at some point in our lives. We live in a very stressful time, and we are working harder than we have, and we have to figure out a time that it's good for us to get away.
Jodi, you and I have talked about this off camera. It's something that arguably we don't talk about it enough in front of our clients, because so frequently we just get into numbers and taking care of our patients and our clients that we forget how important it is to take care of ourselves. What would you say to people that are listening right now where, okay, great, it sounds really good to have balance between work and life-work balance. That sounds great, but that's not practical. I can't be the best, dentist or whatever hat I'm wearing. I can't do that. I gotta grind. I gotta get it done. What would be your advice to that? Because you and I know that's not the case, but I know that narrative is out there.
Oh, absolutely. And we all work so hard, and we have these agendas that we want to accomplish, and we never want to come across as being weak or that we don't have our stuff together. But managing stress and dealing with what you deal with on a daily basis, whether you're a dentist or whether you're in some other job capacity, you have to have a focus. And what I would tell my peers is you have to have your plan together. You have to set up something that you're managing for yourself in a way that works for you, because we're all going to deal with stress differently. So you have to deal with it however fits you and whatever the situation is, because we don't just have stress at work. We have stress at home. We have stress with our kids. And all of those are managed completely different. But the bottom line is we have to come up with a way to manage it, and making sure that we're setting realistic goals and know what our breaking points are.
Yeah, it's a good point. Actually, this reminds me, when I went to basketball camp years and years ago, my coach would always say, you should expect the ball to go in the hole every time you shoot it. And why does that make any sense with stress? Because you shouldn't be surprised when the stress comes. It is inevitable. It's going to be a part of your life. But what I'm hearing you say is, let's have a plan.
Yeah.
Let's have a process. Let's know what our breaking point is, what our triggers are. So what was it for you? What did you know, maybe intuitively, or maybe you learned after? I don't know. I don't know if you were great at this out of the beginning or if you had to learn this, because I had to learn it. I had to almost get divorced. I had to go through all of that stuff to learn, like, holy shit, I need to take care of me first. So what did that look like for you?
You're absolutely right, Jam. It is different for different things. And my stress has changed as I've gotten older. So when I'm a young dentist, I was out there, I was hungry. I wanted to get my patient base, business base bigger, and I had my team that I dealt with. But then at the home side, I had my husband to contend to. My kids were in school, and those were all different things that were stressing me out. I do feel like personally for me, I handled stress a little bit differently when I was younger than I do now. And I think it's because of the stress management indicators that I've put together for myself, such as making sure we all know when we're irritable. We might be picking a fight with our spouse, or we know that we have difficulty concentrating, or changes in your sleep habit and the appetite for me. Those were the things that I could identify with that made me feel like, something's not right. And then just being depressed. I mean, I felt so overwhelmed and had so much on my plate that instead of managing that and coming up with a way for me to deal with that, I just kind of sunk into a hole. Thank goodness I went to therapy. I think therapy can help anybody out there about recognizing what's important for each of us. But those are some of the things that I've done. And when I went through that, I learned how to establish boundaries and set realistic goals and practice self-care. Those were things that were important to me.
Yeah, you mentioned therapy. I'm also a big fan of it, both for yourself. For instance, I always say the best form of therapy, it's free, is literally paper and a pen. It costs you nothing. It's not the paper. When I write stuff down, it doesn't say, Jam, you're brilliant. And it doesn't say, Jam, you're an idiot. It doesn't say anything. It just takes my thoughts to paper. I've found that to be the cheapest form of therapy. However, when you're talking about actually going to talk to someone, oftentimes I feel like there's a stigma, maybe negativity, a negative connotation is surrounded by that. And I want to dispel that, because I really think it's valuable to have someone be able to objectively listen to what's going on. And whether they give advice or they just simply let you get it out, there's so much power. Did you have any of the negative feelings towards therapy, or were you pretty open to it in the beginning?
No, I viewed going to therapy as a weakness of mine. And finally, I just reached a tipping point, and two of my very good friends said, Jodi, I want you to go talk to Dr. Watson. She's wonderful. She's not going to tell you what's right, what's wrong, or tell you what to do, but she's going to give you some tools to help you manage what you're going through. And for me, it worked amazingly, because not only did it deal with the stress, but dealt with some personal issues that I've never dealt with on a personal level. And it is done objectively. She's not there to be my friend. She's not judging me. She is just a sounding board, because I needed that objective idea of what I am looking at in order to bring me to where I am today. For me, the other thing is I had a tendency to say yes to everything. And I think all of our type A personalities out there, not just type A, but mostly our type A's, they want to say yes to everything. They want to be a part of every pie. And that stresses you out, because you don't really want to be a part of a pie if you're not going to give it your best effort. So saying yes to multiple things over and over and over stressed me out completely. And I got to where just like you said, I wrote down on a pen and paper the pros and cons of doing anything. If somebody's asked me to do something, I will do a pros and cons list and decide whether or not that is something that's going to be beneficial to me. Is it going to be advantageous for me to work on this project? And if I have more cons, I've learned to say no. And that was really hard for me, because I wanted my reputation out there to know that I'm going to do something and I'm going to give it the best that I can. But if I don't have enough pros in that column and I can't give it the best that I can, I've learned to say no.
So let's talk about this say yes to everything. Here's the deal. I hope you hear this loud and clear.
Yes.
Every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else. So those of you that are like, I don't know how to say no, every time you say yes, you are effectively saying no to something else. I love what you said. Look, I'm going to do a pros and cons list. And if the cons outweigh the pros, I'm not doing it.
That's right.
It's such a good process, because, again, if you continue to say yes, 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 you're saying no to potentially your health, no to your family, no to your your adventure, your hobbies. And so you are effectively saying no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And you're affecting your personal well-being. You know, that's the bottom line, because if your personal well-being is effective, you can't be a good parent. You can't be a good spouse. You can't be a good team lead at your office. You can't be a good mentor to people that want your information. When you've said yes to so many things, you've spread yourself way too thin to be good at anything.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we're going to get to that, because the one thing that I hope comes out of this more than anything is that people take away that when you feed yourself personally, you show up as the best doctor, hygienist, team lead, whatever role you're in. When you take care of you, it's funny, Jodi, because when I do my trainings, by far and away, people respond to that morning routine that you talk about, taking care of me. They get so much more from that, even though the other stuff is all about doubling their revenue and whatnot. The truth of the matter is, by taking care of yourself first, it's going to allow you to double your revenue. That's the secret that most people don't realize.
I was just say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was literally just about to say the same thing. If you're not in a good headspace, you can't make good decisions to be where you want to be financially or make that 7-figure income. You have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror, rested, and say, here we go. I've got the energy. I've got the time. Let's go do this thing. But if you're tired and you're stressed and you're dreading going to work, or you feel burned out, you've got to take a step back and realize what position you're putting yourself into.
Yeah, and the thing you also mentioned the Calm app. I'm going to throw Headspace in there. You said the word Headspace, another great meditation app. Yeah. Insight Timer is another fantastic one. Now, so there's 3 resources for quick breathing, meditation, calming music. Yep. Calm, Headspace, Insight Timer.
Right.
Here's another thing that most people have never heard of. It's called solfeggio frequencies. So if you're playing music at your location, I don't care what form of music, typically it's not the frequency that puts people in a calm state. However, Calm, Headspace, Insight, they all know about solfeggio frequencies. So one thing that you can really do to even calm your patients, the one sitting in the chair and yourself, is to look up solfeggio frequencies alongside of, like you said, Calm, and some of the other ones I talked about. So I think it's really important. The other thing you had mentioned that I'm got to make sure we get to is I slow down and I breathe. And I have several different breathing techniques I use. Do you use a specific technique, or is this just really being in a mindful state and just being consciously aware to slow down, Jodi, let's breathe? What does that look like for you?
Well, it's a little bit of both. So like if you have an Apple Watch, you can hit the breathe and it will let you breathe in and out. So that's what I do during the course of my day. I will hit the breathe app on my Apple Watch at nighttime or in the morning time. Even if it's over the weekend, I enjoy my time to myself so much that the days that I can sleep in, I'm still usually the first one up. And I like to sit with everything being completely dark and quiet. And that's my time to myself. So I don't let anybody steal that from me. And getting back to something you said a minute ago about exercising, the days that I can't exercise in the morning, I want to take a nap in the afternoon as soon as I get home. So it works. When you exercise, it gives you more energy. It gives you that headspace to where you can fulfill the obligations that you have for the entire day and still have a little bit of peace and time for yourself.
Yeah, it is an interesting balance, because obviously waking up at 4, that means you're probably going to bed by 10 at the latest would be my guess.
9 o'clock.
Yep, so 9. So you're getting your 7 hours in, which is good because, again, Dr. Matthew Walker talks about the cancer sweep. You literally need to hit that 6 hours of consecutive sleep to get the cancer sweep. So you're doing that. Fantastic. And they really say between 6 to 8 hours is what you're shooting for, right? So you're knocking that out of the park. I don't want to leave this breath idea because it's so interesting how we have to breathe in order to live.
Yep.
Okay, JM, no kidding. But yet, so often, we don't know how to properly breathe. Now, I'll give you a resource. It's a fantastic book. It's called Breath by James Nestor. And if you're listening and you're like, really, JM, I need to listen to a book or read a book about breathing, yeah, you really should. Because what's happened is historically, we are chest breathers. Well, the problem with that, if you've ever been a singer or an actor or an actress or an athlete,
Or
you know that
a runner.
Or what?
A runner. If you're
Or a runner.
Yeah.
There you go.
Gotta breathe through.
Diaphragmatic breathing is really important. And so what James, without giving the book away, what he talks about is really the ability to breathe through your nose and not through your mouth and becoming these chest breathers, but rather diaphragmatically breathing. So and I'll just give you one technique, and then Jodi, I'm curious, what you do when the watch says to stop, how your process looks. But box breathing is one of my favorite. If you're ever hit with something and it's like, oh my gosh, what is this? Box breathing is very simple. You breathe in through your nose for 4. You hold your breath for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold again for 4. If you do that, and you can even do that in front of a patient, and it's 16 seconds. And it's amazing how fast it resets your entire nervous system. So that's one of mine that I love to use. Do you have a specific breathing thing that you do?
Same one that I use too. And you're absolutely right. Even if you have a challenging patient and you dread going in, because everybody has that dreaded person that they're seeing that they still have to deal with, I will take a couple of deep breaths before I can walk into the room, because it allows me to put my headspace in a positive area because I've already been negative about it. So I just breathe in, breathe out before I even walk into that room. And then I can walk in there and put my happy face on and pretend like I'm super happy they're there.
Well, there's a lot going on there, right? You're actually signaling to yourself, hey, if I put that smile on, it's going to translate, which it does. They've done studies on it, so it's smart.
That's exactly right. But no, I use the same thing. 4 on, 4 off, 4 on, 4 off, 4 on, 4 off, that's what I call it. I don't do the extra 4 holding in after you said that, but the 4 on, 4 off is what I do.
Got it. I want to talk about, you've mentioned your husband, you've mentioned the kids. And one of the things that I find a lot of professionals neglect is really having a conversation with their loved ones to say, hey, I'm stressed to the max right now. Mm-hmm. Here's the deal. We try and hide it like people don't know that you're stressed. Hey guys, you're not a very good actor. People can see you're stressed. It's coming out in other ways. And so what I love that you said, it seems like you involved your spouse and your kids to let them know, hey, I need my time. Yeah. I need Jodi time, whether it's going out with the girls, blowing off steam with a glass of wine, or whatever your thing was. For me, it was golf or playing pickleball, something active.
Sure.
But early in my marriage, my wife was like, well, you're taking time away from our family. That's not okay. But the truth was, I needed that time to show up as the best husband, father, employer, whatever hat I was wearing. Do you have any advice with really incorporating your spouse and your family into these conversations so that you don't have resentment being built up?
So for me, when my kids were little and I recognized when I got off work and I walked in the door, the kids were already here and they bombarded you. Mommy, this, mommy, help me do this, and this. And I dreaded walking in the door because I knew that my work hat was coming off and my mom hat was coming on, and it got overwhelming to me. So I sat my girls down and I said, okay, mommy's been working all day just like you've been at school all day. I need a little bit of quiet time. So I would come in the house and I would tell them I'm going to my room. I'd go to my bedroom and I'd sit in the chair and I'd set the timer for 15 minutes. and I would just decompress. And then once the timer was off, I stood up and I walked out there, and I was able to do the things with the kids, homework, getting dinner ready, or whatever I needed to do for that evening. My husband, it was a little bit easier for him because he doesn't come home till later in the day. So I got home at 3, got my stuff done, got the kids taken care of, and then my husband would walk in the door because he took the morning and I took the afternoon. So I had that little bit of time to decompress before he walked in the door. Now, for us personally, we're a big proponent of getting away. My husband's a biker. He goes out of town to bike with his buddies. I go do stuff with my friends. And it's not about leaving him behind because we have amazing trips together, but it's my time to get away from everything that's going on at the house. Not necessarily to get away with him, but just like you said, you needed that time with your friends or in a hotel room by yourself. And I've done that myself too, where I've gone and rented a hotel room and watched Netflix all night long, just all by myself. So we need to realize that that time alone gives you the energy to come back and be the best that you can be.
Yeah, I like the 15-minute timer. It's a really tangible, easy thing, which gives them an idea like, hey guys, just go watch a show, go do your homework, whatever it is for 15 minutes. You're not asking for 5 hours. You're literally saying, in order for mommy to be the best for you, I need this time. And when you communicate that, you've set up an expectation, and I imagine that they respected those boundaries. Maybe not always, of course, things happen.
Of course.
But it's a simple 15 minutes. Say, hey, just give me this time, and then I'll come back and I'll show up as the best version of me. I hope everyone heard that, because I will tell you, I struggled with that early in my marriage. I would come home, and I literally had like a 5-minute commute, and I would come home from work. Babies and kids were like thrown into my chest, literally walking through the door. And I think any professional can relate to the fact that that's really hard. I'm not ready to be super dad. I literally need that 5, 10, 15 minutes. Well, it sounds like you're really intentional about your time away. And here's why that's important. How many people have said, I need a vacation for my vacation? I know I have. Like, taking the kids to Disneyland, like, dude, forget it. I'm not ready to come back to work. I need time away from that vacation because it was work the whole time.
It is.
It seems like you were really intentional to say, look, I'm getting away for this purpose.
Right.
I'm going to do this with this intention in mind. That intentionality is so important because it allows you to actually go enjoy the vacation for what it is, time away, time to recharge the batteries. And I will say, especially I'm talking to some of the doctors with young kids, often we want to get away and it ends up being work the entire time. And the whole idea of getting away is to recharge your batteries so you can walk through the door and love to come back to work and absolutely crush it. Was that something that you learned along the way? Because again, yeah.
Just like what you said, Jan, going out of town with your children is work until they get to be older. My kids are older now. So when we go out of town with them now, it's super fun because they're adults and they do their thing and we do our thing. But when the kids are little, you're there 100% of the time, every single day that you're on vacation, and you're wanting it to be a good family experience. So that's work all in itself. But then you have to factor in that time between either you by yourself or you with your husband or your spouse, because the vacation with your family is still work. Whereas the vacation by yourself or with your friends or with your spouse, that's your time to wrap your brain around what you need personally to just relax and get away.
I want to talk about boundaries, and this will be specific to inside the workplace and also the people that you surround yourself with. We talk so much about recharging the batteries, and we talk about, drama is something that just drains you at the end of the day. And here's the thing that you have to accept as the leader. You are ultimately responsible for the culture of your work environment.
Yep.
You're responsible for the culture of your home. You're responsible for the culture of the relationships that you have outside of the home. Now, that means, and I'm giving you full responsibility to say, if these people drain me, I don't need to have them in my life.
Right.
And this goes to, again, coworkers. This goes to dealing with behaviors with your kiddos. If it's not the way that's feeding you in a positive manner, just know that you need to own that. And the great news is you get to change it. What would you say specifically to in the workplace, setting those boundaries or being real clear on how you get to behave? I don't think this is talked about enough, that this is what I expect of you when you're here. This is the type of person you get to be in my practice. Did you have these specific conversations? Was it something that was talked about right away, or did it happen along the way? What did that look like?
Well, it's, again, one of those things that you learn over time, because when you first open up your practice or you first start your business, for me, it was 100% I'm going to do this no matter what. And then over time, you learn about your employees and you learn about the different situations that may not have come out or been what you wanted them to be. So that's when I set up a supportive work environment. So team communication means fostering open communication with your entire team to address the challenges and to share the workload. And when we first start, we want to do everything ourselves. At least I did. I wanted to be able to understand everything about my office down to ADA codes of procedures, because I didn't want to delegate any of those duties to anyone else, because I needed to make sure that they were being done effectively and correctly. But once you have a team member that you know that you can trust and you delegate those challenges or those tools effectively, it makes it easier for you, because then you can take that hat off. And for me personally, my team members know that I have an open door policy and I'm willing to talk to them about anything that goes on at the office. And if you come to me with the idea of how to make something better, then I'm going to encourage you to make that happen. You challenge yourself, you come up with an idea, we're willing to try those ideas, and let's see how it goes. So it effectively takes that off of my hat, because then they're involved in that situation. So they're doing what they need to do to keep themselves happy. And it's making me happy, because I'm not having to be bogged down in the minutia of taking on all of the responsibilities. So it's a supportive work environment. It really is.
Yeah. It's so my subject in Colorado, I'm talking on less is more, and you absolutely talk to the empowerment piece.
Yeah.
Where as the leader, you're responsible for it. That doesn't mean you have to do it every single day.
Right.
Empowering your team, right? Letting them know, hey, this is what I expect of you, and giving them the trust that they're going to perform and probably do it even better than you would, allows you to show up as the best version of you.
Yeah. Exactly right.
I want to, without ever walking through your practice, but I know you enough personally to know that you kind of like to celebrate wins.
Oh, yes.
I think this is something like high fives, hugs, smiles. Clearly, you can see that if you're watching her right now. That's a big thing for you. Did you have a specific setup for celebrating wins? Because I find that this is one of these missing pieces to really thriving in the workplace. I call it EPR, encourage, praise, and recognize. And when I say recognize, I mean every win, celebrating the smallest wins, giving that love. Did you have a specific setup in your practice? What would that look like?
So we have a box. We call it the kudos box. The box is decorated. And we have a team meeting with the entire team once a month. And during the course of that month, if one of your team members has done something for you or something for the office, you're going to put it on a sticky and you're going to put it in that kudos box. So at the beginning of every single one of our team meetings that we get together with, at the very front of it, we go over what those kudos are. So then we count out how many kudos so-and-so got, and they win the prize for the month that said Employee of the Month, based on the number of kudos that they've gotten. And they get to wear that badge, and then we have those stickies, and we give them to them so they know that other team members have said something nice and positive about that. And the other thing that we do in the morning is we start our day off by I like that everybody's here. I like that so-and-so's helping me with this big case. So everybody goes around the room and they talks about what they like.
I will say it is the greatest return on your investment you can make, which Jodi just explained. The kudos box I love, but the I like, it costs nothing to just say, I like this, and you create so much momentum. It's crazy. As we start, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Starts the day in a positive, because the last thing you want to do is walk in the door, go over your list of people that are coming in for that day and go, oh God, they're coming in. But if you start off with I like, your whole frame of mind is completely positive as opposed to focusing on the negative.
Jodi, as we start to wrap up, what didn't I know enough to ask you, or anything that, is on your heart and on your mind when it comes to, health, wealth, well-being, that work-life balance, anything that I should have known that you're like, man, we got to get this across to the audience before we wrap up?
I just want people to recognize the symptoms. Symptoms of burnout or symptoms of stress is a quick self-assessment. Are you emotional? Are you exhausted? Have you depersonalized things? Have you reduced your personal accomplishments because you feel overwhelmed? Those are telltale signs of being stressed out or being burned out of what you do. And it's time for you to think about yourself and time for you to make a change, whether that means read a book or listen to this podcast or listen to the Calm app. You owe it to yourself, your family, your business, your profession, to make sure that you know that you're in the best possible headspace that you can be in.
Yeah, it's great advice. Burnout's real, and what I would say is don't be ashamed of it. It's not something that is something to be ashamed of. It's rather, hey, this is real, and there's ways to address it. I will also say, inside of your Sunrise community, someone else has felt it at some point, and having that group of people that you can reach out to, that when you call them, they just make your day better.
That's right.
When my days are really not, I have a list of people where I know I can call them and I can just pick up the phone and they're gonna make my day better.
Yep.
That, I think, is as impactful as anything I've ever had. It wasn't even necessarily mentors, although I've had great ones of those. It wasn't just books or podcasts or working out or all of that, but just that group of people that made you smile. I think those are so crucial to have. So remember, look for your network inside of Sunrise or outside of it that really makes you smile. Jodi, I appreciate all your nuggets today. I mean, my goodness, you're a walking testament of how good it feels to be alive and have a thriving practice. And I'm so glad you shared so many nuggets.
I won't tell you how old I am, but I will say it's taken me that long to get to where I'm at today.
And you know what? That's okay, because everyone's on their own journey. So I guess with that, I would say it's never too late and it's never too early to begin. So if you're at all not taking care of yourself, your work-life balance, just know that you are worthy of it, you are deserving, and we appreciate you guys. Jodi, I appreciate you so much.
Oh, I'm so happy to be with you. Can't wait to see you in a few weeks at the summit.
Me as well. Thank you.
Thank you.